Billy Blue, my knight in shining brindle. Welcome to another episode of A Poet Reads to Write. Today I would like to finally return to the book tag scene. I've been tagged to take part in something, and I must admit this is something that's really caught my fancy. Oh, Meg, over there at Books Off the Beaten Path. If you want a channel that really does mystery, particularly vintage mystery, books that you've probably never even heard of before, but you would probably love to explore. If you would like to explore the world of vintage mystery, there is no one like Meg over there at Books Off the Beaten Path. Get into it. It's a wonderful channel. You know, Meg and Brian over there at Casper's Mystery Corner. Oh, that beautiful parrot Casper. I love Brian's channel as well, and he does a lot of contemporary mystery. So, you know, if you love mystery and you want to give it a go, get into Meg and Brian. They're fantastic channels, and I will link them both down below. All right, the canine book tag. Meg, I have no idea why you thought of tagging me to take part in this. It's not as though I have any special dog in my life or anything. Oh, my Billy Blue. He's really struggling today. We're a month out of summer here in Australia, so things are really warming up. And today, oh my goodness, today, a month out from summer, we are already over 30 degrees Celsius. It is very hot, very sultry. The Bureau of Meteorology has big storm alerts out almost every day for the past week. And there's another storm alert out again for this afternoon and this evening. So I'm trying to make this video before all hell breaks loose, because we could get some damaging winds and large hailstones. Climate change. It is a pickle. It's tricky, isn't it? You know, Trump is exactly right, isn't he? He's such a genius. Why hasn't he won half a dozen Nobel Prizes already? There's no such thing as climate change. Nothing's warming up. Nothing's getting unpredictable. You know, we're not getting more storms or anything on our forecasts, are we? Trump, you're an absolute genius. All right. Thank you, Meg, for tagging me to take part in this. This is the canine book tag. This is a wonderful tag that was created by Paul at Geeks Love Dogs. What a channel handle. I love that, Paul. You're a genius. And as I said, I was tagged to take part in this by Meg over there at Books Off the Beaten Path. So let's get into it. All right, K1. Oh, this tag is so well conceived. It's a K9 tag, and it goes from K1 up to K9. I think it's very clever. It's a really well conceived tag. You've done a great job on this, Paul. Oh my goodness, fantastic. All right, K1. Playful Pup. Lighthearted fun book. I have lots of fun books that I read. I still read, you know, when I was a teacher I read a lot more, but I still really enjoy YA literature and also children's literature. So one playful book that I'm going to do is this one. You've seen it in many of my video intros. Ted Hughes, The Iron Man. This is just a fabulous fun. It's an illustrated children's picture book, if you like. It's not written in verse, even though it's written by Ted Hughes, but it is a marvelous book about this misunderstood giant Iron Man who in the end makes best friends like Puff the Magic Dragon. He makes best friends with a young boy, and together they save the world from this space bat angel dragon. Oh boy, I just think this is marvelous fun. It is so good, and it was so popular when Ted Hughes wrote it that it spawned a whole series of books around the Iron Man, the Iron Woman, the Iron Boy. Ted Hughes had a blaster in this, I think, so it is so much fun. And while I'm looking at Ted Hughes, the Iron Man, I couldn't help but also figure Sylvia Plath's wonderful children's book, The Bed Book. It is absolutely wicked fun, perfect for kids. It was the perfect thing to, take into the bedroom and read to kids as they went to bed. It is written in verse. It's marvellous. Sylvia Plath at her playful best. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the Bed Book here with me. It must be in the big house with Rhiannon, so I wasn't able to find it. But Sylvia Plath, The Bed Book, is absolutely wonderful. It's published by Faber, so it's easy to get hold of if you would like to find it. Ted Hughes, the Iron Man series, and Sylvia Plath, The Bed Book. My current spotlight on playful books. All right, K2, Pill in the Peanut Butter. Oh, Pill in the Peanut Butter. As you know, my Billy's had all that terrible toe infection, and he's been so much, he's been having anti-inflammatories and antibiotics, and he won't have any peanut butter now. He's so used to pills being in the peanut butter. He used to love peanut butter. He would do anything to have some peanut butter or roast chicken. Now he has to have a good sniff around to make sure there's no pill in it. Oh, my beautiful boy. Yeah, he won't take a pill in the peanut butter anymore. Oh, my goodness. I've had to get much more innovative. All right. A book you thought you would love, but didn't. I'm going to give this book another go because I'm hoping I was just in the wrong mood when I read it the first time and I just wasn't ready for it. I'm hoping that was the problem because this was a book I was really looking forward to for a very long time. This is a book by the English professor of literature, Mark Wormald, and it's a book called The Catch, Fishing for Ted Hughes. It's a wonderful new, if you like, biography on Ted Hughes. There's been so many big, substantial works come out, of course, on the life of Ted Hughes. He was one of the most important poets in the late 20th century, wasn't he? Even into the early 21st century with the birthday letters, that unbelievable verse cycle commemorating his shared life with Sylvia Plath and the things that went maybe wrong with that shared life. The birthday letters is just absolutely, my goodness. I was one of those many people who, when it came out, I was very excited to get it. And my goodness, as a beginnings of the confessional poetic into that English context, along with someone like Stevie Smith, Ted Hughes, such an unexpected development. I don't think anyone ever thought that Ted Hughes would write confessional poetry. But then he came out right at the end of his life with the birthday letters. Wow. There's nothing in the confessional poetic that is any better than Ted Hughes's The Birthday Letters. It's a verse cycle that is just so moving, so powerful. Does he really interrogate his own blame, his own fault in everything that went wrong? His maybe unfaithfulness? Probably not. Probably not enough anyway. But it is a majestic work. But yes, this book, trying to get, a niche in the market and opening, when so much has been written on Ted Hughes. Mark Wormald, when he wrote this book, he decided to concentrate on Ted Hughes, the fisherman, and Ted Hughes, the hunter, the trapper of wild animals. And he tries to also position this book in many ways as a sort of a work of eco-criticism. And I just don't think it works. How can you have a book that foregrounds fishing and hunting and trapping, but also pretend that it is somehow contributing in a major way to the international movement of eco-criticism? I think the motivations for writing this book, the vision for it is inflated, and it doesn't work for me. I think some of Ted Hughes's, trapping and hunting and fishing even, preponderances is troubling. And I think the way this book should have been a little bit differently. I don't know, the book just doesn't quite work for me. As I said, in trying to get a niche in the market, trying to write something about Ted Hughes that no one else had ever done before, he concentrates on Hughes the hunter, Hughes the fisherman, and he takes his own fishing rod and tackle and he goes fishing all the wild rivers, you know, in Alaska, in Canada, in the United Kingdom and Ireland, that Ted Hughes loved to fish so much. And as he's fishing, he's ruminating on the life of Ted Hughes. So, you know, in some ways it's a clever extended metaphor, but I was a bit bored with it. I was really waiting for this book to finish. I think its vision was a little bit inflated, a little bit dishonest perhaps. I don't know. I need to read this book again. I haven't actually written it off yet. I need to give it another chance. I'm just hoping that I wasn't in the right mood for it when I came to read it. And if I give it another go, I might love it. Let's see how we go. On a rereading, that is. I've only tried to read it once so far. It's a new book, almost hot off the shelf in the last just year or two. And at the moment, I've just read it the once and put it down. I will come back to it and give it another go. All right. K3, Puppy Dog Eyes, a book that pulled on your heartstrings. All right. The first one, I've done a video on this before about 6 months ago. This is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, that Japanese UK writer. It's such a powerful book. It's a work of fantasy, I guess, but it's a very adult, very different type of fantasy book. It's set in the United Kingdom, in England specifically, after the Romans have pulled out. So Roman Britain has finished, and you got the waves of, you know, the Angles, the Saxons and the Jutes coming into the United Kingdom, whether they're coming in as migrants, as settlers, or as invaders. In this book, they're very much invaders. So it's a book that is set in that terrible period of turmoil, of upheaval, of civil strife, of landlessness, lawlessness, even after the Romans had left Britain. It is a very powerful book, and it also explores the idea that perhaps, you know, because the book was written very much apparently in the shadow of the Yugoslav civil wars and all of those genocides that took place in the old Yugoslavia in that period of time. So the book is really exploring the idea that is forgetfulness the only way for a people to overcome civil strife and genocides. It's a very powerful book, a very moving book. The book focuses on this old couple who have such a miraculous relationship with one another. They're just this beautiful old couple, so loving and caring. There's a generosity of spirit. They really pull at your heartstrings. And they go on a type of pilgrimage to find their adult son who they've lost contact with. And I think we all know what's happened to the son. It's a very powerful, very moving book, very poignant. It is a beautiful piece of writing. Ishiguro is just a master. I love him to bits, and this is one of those books that really pulls at my heartstrings. The Buried Giant. The other one that I couldn't help but do, of course, is Primo Levi. Primo Levi is a really powerful writer, a poet, a novelist, a non-fiction writer, memoirist. He was an Italian Jewish writer of that mid-late 20th century milieu. This is a biography that I have of Primo Levi by Carole Angier. It's a very powerful book. This is also very poignant. You know, as soon as World War II broke out, Primo Levi joined the Italian resistance to the Nazis. And eventually he was betrayed and he was captured by the Nazis and sent to the death camps. Fortunately, he survived. And he survived to write the most majestic body of work. As I said, you know, here there are novels, there's poetry, there are memoirs, there's non-fiction. He's written some incredibly powerful stuff about what it was like to go to the death camps and to survive them, and then to live with the trauma of that surviving, the survivor guilt. It is absolutely remarkable. As a Jewish man, I find this unbelievably powerful. Primo Levi, he really always brings me undone. He is one of my most favourite writers of that sort of mid-late 20th century milieu. There are many Jewish writers who I just love, like Kafka. But Primo Levi is very special. He just wrote over such an incredible range of text types and very, very powerful stuff. I find it hard to read. Some of the stuff, particularly on the death camps, I don't return to very often because it really leaves me in a very, very emotional, fraught state. But I realise, we do have to remember and we do have to commemorate what happened. And there's no better way of doing that than with Primo Levi. He doesn't sensationalise anything. He leads you gently with his, your hand in his. He's a very, very resilient, emotionally mature, incredible person. He's an astounding mentor. I love Primo Levi to bits. He's certainly one of my favourite Jewish writers, one of my favourite continental writers of that mid-late 20th century. He's a marvellous person. I really recommend him. If you haven't read any Primo Levi, I really recommend you give him a go. Poetry, novels, non-fiction, memoirs, he's got it all. And it's all very, very powerfully conceived. Whew. All right. K5. Chasing Your Tail, a book you keep inexplicably returning to. I'm going to surprise all of you with this one. For me, it would be certain works of contemporary literary criticism and certain works of contemporary poetry, particularly innovative poetry that's innovative just for the sake of being innovative. It is simply complex, sophisticated, almost impossible to make sense of, just for the sake of being a puzzle, a riddle. Likewise, some of the contemporary literary criticism, not all of it, but some of it is just deliberately complex, obtuse. It is though, meaning itself is impossible. The problems with language of communicating ever, can we ever really communicate with another human being? And so some of these writers just deliberately try to obfuscate meaning to really bring home this point that we can never really communicate openly with other people. I don't really get it. I don't get it on a literal level because I can't make head nor tail of what they're trying to say. And I also just don't get the project. I think good writing is about communication. And if you're deliberately trying to miscommunicate, I don't get it. Obviously, because of my job and because of my vocation as a poet, I keep returning to it inexplicably. It always tears me apart, makes me tear my hair out. It brings me undone. I hate it, but I do keep returning to it because I keep thinking there must be something I'm missing. There must be something I'm just failing to understand. So I keep returning to it inexplicably. I can't keep away, but I always hate it. So yes, a certain type of contemporary literary criticism and some forms of very innovative contemporary poetry. Oh, a dog chasing its tail. Yes, that's hopelessly me. All right. K6, Go Walkies, a fictional location you'd like to walk through. Right. I think for me, one of the things I would love to walk through, you all know about my love affair with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and the place of those books in my reading life, in my reading journey. I would love to walk, of course, through Hobbiton and Rivendell, particularly Hobbiton and Rivendell. I would love that. That would be an absolute treat to walk through and to live with hobbits and elves. Would there be anything better than sitting down in a pub, with someone like Merry and Pippin and having a great drink? So yes, I would love to walk through Hobbiton and Rivendell in particular. The other place I would love to walk through, which is actually a real place, I'm thinking of you now, Julia, over there in Cornwall. Oh, Julia, another new viewer to my channel, and I cherish you. And I cherish Cornwall, where you live. So I know Cornwall is a real place, but I've never been there and I'm never going to be there. I've engaged with Cornwall my whole life. I love it to bits. So my fictional place, another fictional place I would love to walk through is Cornwall. Susan Cooper wrote this amazing sequence of 5 novels set in sort of post-World War II Cornwall, retelling some of the Arthurian myths and legends into that sort of modern Cornwall setting. They're absolutely brilliant and I love them to bits. Susan Cooper, The Dark is Rising, because I also spend a lot of time with Cornwall with Time Team. Time Team is this miraculous archaeological dig. You know, an archaeological dig in 3 days in the United Kingdom. And every week they go to a different place and dig for 3 days. And of course, quite a few episodes have been in Cornwall, you know, digging particular Neolithic and Bronze Age sites. I just love it to bits. Oh boy, Cornwall. Yes, one of those places for me that I would love to travel into. I would love to step into Cornwall and explore that magical part of England. Oh, Cornwall. Oh, Julia, thank you for sharing it with me again. Another pathway into Cornwall. I have a lot of family as well as from Ireland and the Highlands of Scotland. You know, my middle name is Gordon, so I actually have family links apparently with Clan Gordon up there in the Scottish Highlands. But I also, of course, have family from Yorkshire, and they're very, very proud of those Yorkshire roots. So I don't think I have any family links actually to Cornwall, but I've always just loved Cornwall. You know, the whole thing of King Arthur, that just burns in my imagination. I love it. All right. K7. He's Got Fleas. A character. Have I missed one? No, I don't think so. A character that irritated you till the end. Oh boy, actually I have. I've missed K4, haven't I? A loyal companion. For me, a loyal companion, of course, I would love to meet Peregrin Took and Meriadoc Brandybuck, if only because of their names. But they're just so much fun. They're from the Lord of the Rings, of course. They're just so much fun to have a drink in a pub with them, to learn how to have a good time, you know, to learn how to be convivial, to drink, to tell jokes, to sing songs, to dance. Oh boy, I think Merry and Pippin would have a lot to teach me. The other person I would love to meet is from the world of The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. It's the way Susan Cooper imagines or reimagines the figure of oh my goodness, the wizard. I keep wanting to say Gandalf. Oh my goodness. Uncle Gumerry, Merlin, oh my goodness, Philip, come on, get on with it. The way Susan Cooper reimagines Merlin into her universe is this character known as Great Uncle Gumerry. He just always knows when to step in and help the children with their fight against the dark, and when to step back and allow them to, you know, solve things with their own metal, with their own muscle and steel. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful universe that, you know, is really has females and males in it, so it's not just one of these male-orientated fantasy worlds. It's a great thing. I love it to bits. All right. He's Got Fleas, a character that irritated you right till the end. Well, that's easy. I've talked before, particularly in that video that was made, you know, that documentary video that was made on my tiny home living here with Billy Blue. I love the opera of Richard Wagner. I love Wagner to bits, in particular the Ring Cycle. I love everything, you know, Tracy's Nordic Light. I love everything that is Nordic, you know, the North, Icelandic myths and legends and spirituality. I'm always been very, very drawn to everything of the North, and there's been no greater celebration of the spirit of the North than Wagner's terrific opera sequence, The Ring Cycle. But As a human being, Wagner was a small man with a big head who fancied himself with a whip and pistol. He was sexist, he was racist, he was horrible. And of course, he was particularly anti-Semitic. He would have hated me. So my love affair with him certainly would never have been returned. Another person who loved Mahler, of course, was the great Jewish late 19th century romantic composer, Gustav Mahler. Mahler is another composer who I just love to bits. Mahler also worshipped Wagner. And Wagner, of course, would have also hated Mahler. He was so anti-Semitic. He was a mad hater. So yes, I love the music, but I hate the man, and he irritates the life out of me. So I've got this, wonderful biography that's a really hard read for me. It's really hard to read such a brick of a biography about a man that is such a hater. I think I need to keep to the music and read far less of the man, because he was not a nice person at all. But I've also got, this wonderful celebration of Bayreuth, that concert hall, that opera house that was specifically built to house his operas. What a project. And then, of course, there's that very conservative English analytic philosopher, Roger Scruton. He's written these wonderful books on music as consolation, what we get, what music adds to our life in terms of aesthetic beauty. And he's written this book on Parsifal. He's also written a beautiful book I've got somewhere, but I couldn't find it, called The Ring of Truth, on the actual Ring of the Nibelung. So Roger Scruton, he's a very conservative, analytic English philosopher, but he's written some great stuff, particularly on aesthetics and the role of classical music, particularly Wagner, in aesthetic philosophy. They're great books to read. These are actually very readable. They're a hoot. I really enjoy Roger Scruton's work. All right, K8. Best in show, favourite fictional canine. I don't have a book to show you this time. There is a wonderful dog in the Susan Cooper Dark is Rising sequence that helps the kids in their battles with the dark. So there is a wonderful dog in that. I spent my childhood watching Rin Tin Tin, Old Yeller, Lassie. I always loved any stories about dogs. And then I was rethinking, there was a story by Ray Bradbury. He wrote a sort of a horror story. It was about a little kid who was sick and confined to their bed, and they lived with this dog, and they would send the dog out every morning out into the world, and this dog would bring back things with them. And eventually, of course, these things that start coming back are quite ghostly. It's a very spooky, eerie story. Very, very powerful. It was one of those stories I actually memorized just the story, and I would tell it around the campfire when I was out camping with teenagers, with big Duke of Edinburgh programs and all of that sort of thing. So it was one of those stories I used to tell, one of those ghost stories I used to tell kids around the campfire at night. I loved it, and they always loved it. So yes, Ray Bradbury had this story. I can't remember what the story was called now. So long ago. But it's a very, very powerful story. I loved it. All right. So, there we have it. The Canine Book Tag. Meg, thank you for tagging me to take part in this. I haven't done a tag video in ages, so this has been a real hoot to take part in. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and bye for now.